So, hello everybody, welcome to today's class. So, in our last class, we discussed and introduced HTML attributes. We spoke a lot on HTML attributes. We had, I think, let me go back to my notes here so that you won't guess. We defined which we use to know how to write attributes properly. They say there's a basic layout of how attributes are written, which are certain ways we write them. And we also give rules to follow. So again, if any of this sounds confusing to you, I suggest you go back to the last video and check that out. But today we're going to go a lot more practical. We're not going to have too many writing notes and too many, talking. We're just going to go full practical on this. No much theories, no overload, no confusion. So again, I'm going to put this out that if any of the things I've said so far sound weird to you or sound like you don't understand it, you can go back to the last video and check that out. As I was a lot more you know, I had a lot more explanations there, a lot more hands-on theory, but now I'm going practical. So we're going to go into our code base. Now, by the end of this class, I'm going to expect you to use attributes correctly, at least on the beginner level. Now, nobody is saying that suddenly you're going to become like some kind of pro attribute user or pro attribute coder, but at least I expect you to have good, proper beginner understanding of it. I expect you to know where to use it and also understand the pairs because there are some tags. And we introduced this in our last class where I said that there are some tags that work specifically with some attributes. In fact, some tags can't exist independently of some attributes. We had a discussion about that in the last class, which you can go back and watch it if you don't remember or you have forgotten if you didn't watch it from the beginning. So we're also going to discuss those kind of tag attribute relationships. I want to understand why most of these attributes matter. So this is how this is actually how HTML is used in real websites. So now, before I start, I'm going to do a quick recap, which I always do at the beginning of most of my videos. So I said that attributes give extra information about the HTML tag because the HTML tags are not flexible, so it gives additional info to it. And they're usually written inside the open tag, and they have a name and a value. An example, so I'm going to give an example here. So first I'm going to clear this up. We're going to have an attribute here. I'm going to call the attribute. Okay, we're going to have a tag first. We're going to write a tag, which is the h1 tag. I'm going to write hello world. If you have watched any tutorial video before, you probably have heard of hello world or generic names like John Smith. Then I'm going to go to my documents, open up my folder. I can see hello world. So now this is a basic tag, but utilizing an attribute, I can give it extra information or modify it further. For example, I can change the color. And this was an example I used in last class. So it's a very common example. And if I've been following all our classes from the beginning, by now this should be very familiar to you. So we can do things like change the color, change the size. These are how attributes work. And as I said in the last class, I told you that this style is the name. So attributes are consisted of two main components, which is their name and their values. And values are usually added inside a pair of double columns, while the name is added before an equal sign. And the equal sign basically relates the attribute name to the attribute value. So the style is equals to the value. It aligns the two of them. It basically accords them together. Even if I should write a brand new tag, for example, if I want this to lead somewhere, let me say href. So let me say I want this to lead to another page. Let me say the index file. I can add it there, save it, and now this is a whole other attribute. Again, with its own equal sign, as you can see here, that links it up to the value. And if we refresh, so come back here, refresh it, go back to our web page, we can see that it's now used as two independent attributes. So again, these are ways in which attributes are used. Of course, we don't actually use href with this tag because it's not a tag, but I'm just giving you an example of how attributes are linked to their value. So now, with that attribute, HTML is very limited. Again, we have discussed this in extent in our last class. HTML is extremely limited without attributes. And we're going to discuss some very popular attributes, which the first attribute we're going to discuss is our href. So I'm going to go, I said I'm not going to use our notes more. I did say that I'm going to use our notes more, but I'm going to have to write some things down. So after the rules of attributes, I'm going to create a bit of space and we can start here. So popular examples of attributes. And this is what we're going to discuss today. So the first one is going to be our href. Now href means HTML, so it means HTML reference. It means HTML reference and it's used to link a new page or website to a piece of content. So HTML reference is used to link a page or a new website or a new page to a piece of content. It uses that content to reference a new page. And this is one of those scenarios where the attribute cannot exist independently of the tag and the tag cannot exist independently of the attribute. So this attribute must always be used or utilized with the anchor tag. So again, if you don't know what an anchor tag is, I'll suggest you go way back and watch my video on tags, on HTML tags. And I said the anchor tag is used to add a hyperlink. That's what the anchor tag is. So I'm not going to make any other explanation on that. If you don't get that, I'll suggest you go back and watch the other videos. But the anchor tag, even though just like the image tag, remember we discussed the image tag and I said the image tag represents an image. But even though it represents an image, it doesn't necessarily tell the browser where to find that image. And so it needs an attribute. It can't exist without an attribute. The attribute shows the image path, the file path to the browser. The same thing applies to href. The anchor tag represents a hyperlink. It tells the browser that okay, a link is going to be here, and a hyperlink is just a link. That's what a hyperlink is. Don't let it confuse you. Like how you share your TikTok video links or your YouTube links, and when someone click on the link, takes them to that video. That's what a hyperlink is. So the anchor tag represents a hyperlink, but it doesn't tell the browser where that link is. That's where you use the HTML reference. So the two of them go hand in hand. They can't exist independently of each other. If you use, and if you notice in the beginning of this video, I used the href with h1 tag and it didn't work. It obviously didn't work. I was just going to make an example then, but it only works with anchor tag. The attributes cannot work without anchor tag, and anchor tag cannot work without the href attribute, and they can't work in any other scenario except they are with each other. This is a bread and butter combination. It doesn't work elsewhere. And they look like it. So the format, they are written in this format. So this is the format they are written in. We have our tag, which is here. The opening tag, remember the attribute always enters the opening tag. Then we have our attribute name, which in this case is our HTML reference. Then we have the value, which is the link, the file path. And then we have the content and our closing tag. So I'm going to hop straight into my code editor here. I'm going to try this out here. So we have our a tag, and inside our href, we have, let's put an index of HTML. Okay, I will write, click here to go to index 5. And when I save this, come back to my browser, refresh, and click on it, as you can see, it takes me to a new file. So now, One thing that someone asked me, I guess a student asked me earlier before I made this video was like, how do you know how to add the link? And there are two types of links. So when using the href, there are two types of hyperlinks that can be used. So let me go back to our document and I'll add a note. So note, when using the href attribute, there are two types. There are two types of links that can be added: local links and posted links. So now these are just names that I give them to separate them. Local links are links that are already added in your computer. They are in your file. Remember, all this stuff, all these um files or even for our website is stored on our computer. And if I take this link, you can see this link here. If I send this link to somebody on WhatsApp, they can't open it. If they click on the link, it takes them nowhere because the file is not on their computer. It's not hosted on the internet, it's hosted on my local computer. It's different from my portfolio website that is hosted on the internet. So now, when adding a file from my local computer, how I add it into my href is that first of all, you have to go to that file. In this case, my file is HTML class 2. So once you're inside the file, all you have to do is just pick whatever file you want to add there. In this case, I want to add contact page. So if I want to add the contact page, so whenever the person clicks it, they go to the contact page. I have to come down, create an anchor tag, name it contacts.html. And just like before in our last video when I spoke on the suggestions that comes out in your Visual Studio Code, when you're writing the right thing, it comes out here. Every time, it always comes out here. And then I can click on it. And then the content, I can now write, click here to go to contact file. Yes. And if I refresh this, we have a brand new link. And when I click on this, it takes me to the contact page where I can add my contact information. So that's how it works. Now, the second kind of links are the hosted links, which are the links that are already hosted on the internet. They are not on your local computer. So you're not going into any folder to look for them. And how you add these links is you go. So we're going to add in a piece of content. So click here to go to my portfolio website. I will save this, come back and refresh. So let's go back to our file, refresh. We can click on this and it's going to take us all the way to my portfolio website. So it takes us to the page. Now, one distinguishing factor for websites or links that are hosted on the internet, they're already live on the internet. I call them live links in one place. They usually have the HTTP URL there. Unlike this one, which has just the file name, this has the HTTPS URL, which is Hypertext Transfer Protocol, and this is because it's going to surf the internet for this, so you need this link. So it's not preferable to write. Don't type it yourself. If you can, copy and paste the link. If it's a link on the internet, copy and paste it. You can also add links to things like Facebook profiles. So you can go down. I can go over to my LinkedIn, for example. So I can go to my LinkedIn feed and give it a sec for it to load up. So now that my link is loaded up, I can copy that, come over, create an anchor tag, paste the link inside there, and write my LinkedIn. And when I save this, come back to my browser, go back to my code base. So I'm going to open this back, refresh, and click on this. So it opens up my LinkedIn. So I don't know if you get what I'm saying from this. You can link to any external file or internal file. And the applications of this is obvious. If you come to a portfolio website, it's not most websites don't have all their information in one page like this. They usually break it out into many pages like about, services, contact, and using the anchor tag and href, you can link to all these pages. You can also link between the pages. So for example, if you come here, you can see my profiles are over there. If I come back to my work, so they are all shared. So you can link in between all these pages. So this is why the anchor tag is useful. And also there's one more scenario that to point out where what if you have a file that is in a folder. So again, this is my HTML class. So what if I create a folder here and I call the folder code, because why not? And I move one of these files into this folder. So I move it into code. So now inside code, you can see the about file. How do you link to that? Well, again, we follow the pattern. So let's create a new anchor tag. Now, the first thing we're looking for, because we want to reference the about file, first we're looking for is where is it inside? And the first folder here is what? Code, because that's the first folder that's inside. All we have to do is right here to code, and you can see it's out. However, if it doesn't bring out a suggestion like this, that's a sign that you should go back to your folder structure and look at it again. So you can click it, say about, click it here, and I can write here about me. And you save, go back and refresh. So I'm going to open this up. Come in, let me get this opened up. You can see about me. I will click on it, takes it to the about. Now, this is the about page. My about page is currently empty because I'm not doing anything on it, but it's the correct page, and you can see it here in the link that is the correct page. So I want to just specify these are different use cases in which the anchor tag can be used. Now I'm going to go on to the next tag. I'm going to delete all this. Again, you can always screenshot and try this out yourself. You can use your own independent links. There's no rule that says you must use my portfolio website or my LinkedIn page. You have to use my LinkedIn page because you don't have it. So you can use your links. So I'm going to be going over to the next example. Remember, this was the first one. These are href. So I'm going to go over to the next example. And next example is going to be our source. Now, again, if you're somebody who has been using you have been watching my videos for quite a while, source should not be new to you. Like honestly, you should know source. By now, you would know source. In fact, I would kind of feel embarrassed if you don't know what source is because I've been hammering it down for quite a while because it's one of the most, I won't say important, but one of the most widely used attributes that we have. But I'm still going to re-explain it, or it's going to be a brief overview. And again, if you don't understand what it is or need further clarification, feel free to go back to the older videos and check them out, especially attribute introduction. So I'm going to put it there, which is our SRC. And this means source. So SRC means source. And this is used to guide the browser to the file path of an image or video. So the source attribute is used to guide the browser to find an image or a video, just like how the href guided the browser to find a file or a web page or a link to a LinkedIn or a TikTok account. Because yes, you can also link a TikTok account there. The source finds an image or a video for you, and it works primarily with two tags or two types of tags. Oh, yeah, like two tags. Actually, I think that's two tags, which are image and video tag. So these are the two tags that source is used primarily with. I've not seen any other tag where I've used the source. Where me personally, I've had to use the source attribute. They're used with basically just this two. And again, just like the case of the anchor tag and href, image cannot exist without source, without its attribute. And video cannot exist again without source. And the reason for this is that both image and video does something very similar. Image represents an image to the browser and video represents a video to the browser. But then it goes back to the fundamental problem we're having with the anchor tag where sure it represents these things, but it doesn't exactly tell the browser where to find these images. And the browser doesn't know where to find them, they can't get them. So the source, well, as the name suggests, tells them the source, where to find it. So in this case, I'm going to go down here to our code. So take this all off and we'll add our image tag. Now inside our image tag, we also have alt, which means alternative text. So we're not going to discuss that today because it's one of the core ones. I'm going to take that off. And inside here, I want to add an image. Now, if you go down to if I've been watching my former videos, you know that I have already arranged my folder structure, which include my assets. I have put my images and videos in their distinct folders to make the file structure cleaner. So all I have to do is just go to my assets, it gives me the suggestion, take it down. You can see the image folder pops up. I go in and I can pick a picture from there. And when I save this, come back and refresh, as you can see, we have a picture. Again, this should not be new to you as of this time now because we have done this a lot, like in like 3 consecutive videos. We have spoken on image tag and source. They exist together. They can't exist independently of each other. I can also do the same with video. I can add a video and it's going to be the same story. So the source is going to be the same assets. But in this case, I'll go to a different folder, which is where I store my videos, and I'll add my video there. And when I save this, come back here, refresh, scroll down, I can see this is the video. Now, if you notice, I can't play this video. I can't play this video. There's no play. It's almost like a picture. And that's because we need another attribute which is used to play the video. And it's called controls. And controls have basically one job. That's the third attribute we're going to be discussing here. And it's very simple. I'll just add it here. Controls. This attribute is used in the image, sorry, in the video tag alongside alongside sorry, alongside yeah, alongside the source, which is src attribute. And all it does is add video controls, which include play, pause, volume, next, just normal controls that we're all used to. So that's what it does. It adds this control to your browser. Makes it more possible to control it. So if you save this added control, go back to our browser. So remember, this is how it looks without control. It looks, there's nothing, you can't even play the video. But now, when I refresh, as you can see, there's controls. Like, I can see the play pause button. You can see the time lapse. You can see the drag and drop, or is it the drag to the side? I don't even know what it's called. But I shall know that they use it to move around. You can see the full screen. You can see more options like playback speed or picture in picture. You can see the volume.
Good evening.
And yes, this is a very old, very terrible video that I had on my system. But you know what? This is an example and it's fine. So I'm going to play the video.
I guess it's probably morning. Good morning. I was just looking at it.
Yes, it's a very, very sad video. In fact, it's such a sad video, I think it won't do this class justice. So I'm going to pick another video and use. So let's go down to our YTV. Something not too large. Let's see. Let's have done recently. Anything. I want something not too. Okay, let's do this. So I want to go back and add the video ourselves. Blue Cargo's YTV. So that's the name of the video. So I'm going to come back here, take this off, and this is the video here. So All video files have .mp4. Images have either .png, .jpg, .jpeg. You have to actually look at the extension, and to find that extension you have to do is just hover over it and it shows mp4 file. Same thing with image, hover over it to give you the extension. So as it saves, come back here, refresh. As you can see, we have a proper video now. So we can play this and it's going to play out. But now, if you notice, there's a problem. The video is too big. It takes up the entire screen. I have to scroll all the way left just to see it. So now, how do we reduce the size of this? We utilize another attribute, which is called width. And in the width, the width is very self-explanatory. So you set the width. In this case, I make it 200 px. Px means pixels. But of course, I'm going to explain this in our document. But when I save this, you can see it's much smaller, much more manageable. And now, if it's too small, you can increase it to 400, and you can go back and check it out, and now it's slightly larger. You can also utilize a break tag. Want to give it a bit of space, which we also talked about in our last class, a break tag, and you know, just put it out there, structure it properly. As you can see, the video plays and is much smaller. So now, I said width. This is the first one I'm talking about. So width. This attribute is used to change the width of either an image, video, or content. So that's all it does. It just changes the width, makes the width either bigger or smaller. That's all it does. So again, just to recap, what the source does is that it shows them, or it shows the browser where to go and fetch the image or the video and display it. So now we also have another one which is used here. In this case, it's called alt. Actually, you guys seen alt for quite a bit. So alt. I can call this alt image of man. And what alt does is that alt means alternative. So we're going to come back here. That's the fifth one. This means alternative, and it shows the text written inside it if the image fails to to display. So, maybe due to network connectivity or due to a problem with the code, let me say you couldn't find the image was deleted or something, if for any reason the image could not show, it basically shows the text that was written there. So in this case, the text written here is image of man. So let's say our image does not show. Let me say, for example, I write the wrong name. I call it Pixie, which is not correct because there's nothing called Pixie in my file explorer. If I save this, as you can see, no picture shows because obviously my browser goes to the image folder. So when it comes here, goes to access this image. There is no picture here called Pixie, only pic. So it shows image of man. So what makes this useful? Imagine if you are showing a video of a banana and you add the alternative text, which means the text you wrote inside the alt attribute was banana. Even if the image doesn't load, the person viewing at least has an idea of what you're talking about. So it helps the screen reader. It's important for accessibility. Even if the picture doesn't load, people can still have an idea of what you're talking about. So now we're going to go to the next tag, or sorry, the next attribute we're discussing. So clear all this, and this is the sixth one, and it's called type. So this attribute is used alongside the input tag. So it's used alongside the input tag. Remember, I said the input tag is used to add content into the website. It allows the user, now this case is not the developer or the browser, it allows the user, the person scrolling, to add content in. And the content can be any kind of content, it can be text, it can be an image, it can be a file, it can be date of birth, it can be any kind of content. But again, just like the image tag and the anchor tag, input basically represents, just like how I say input, it basically represents adding something into the website, but it doesn't tell the browser what. So we need an attribute called type, and type tells the browser the type of content that we want the user to add, and is used mostly in forms. So this is mostly used in building forms. That's why, and is the most important attribute, and is the most for getting user info or feedback. So we know forms like login form, login, sign up, subscribe to our newsletter, contact us, write us a message. All these are types of forms. Search bars. The user enter. This is one of the most important ways user interact with websites. Logging in, chatting, that message box. All these are types of forms. And so the type tells the browser what type of information is expected from the user. I want to go through some of them today. So we have our input. And the first type we're going to talk about is text. Now, input is a void tag. It doesn't have any closing. The first type is text, and it's very self-explanatory. When you add text as value, it means that the browser is expecting text. So when we save this, it expects text. That's it. It expects English. That is the text input. But let's say, for example, you want the user to add a password instead. You can add password. We'll take this substitute now. Okay. So now if we add in our password, which the only difference is that we added password instead of text. You can come back, save it, and we have another box here. So the first box, we're adding our English. The second box, it becomes hidden. You can see what is being written there. That's because now it expects the password and it knows that password shouldn't be seen. So it hides it automatically. What if, for example, you want them to add in their date of birth? So let's go down. So we can add in this again. So we take off this extra attribute. Save it. Come over here, refresh. Now we have three boxes. First one has our text, which could be a message, our name, any of this. Second one have our password, and with this you can also add our, I'm sure you guys have seen this before for those who have done entering in date of birth, entering when you graduated or something. You can add your date, month, year, and it's there. We also have another type, so, and this is called say checkbox. So add this there in case if you want the person to select something. As you can see, you can select either check it off or on in case you wanted to select something. Another type of value of information we can collect from user is this. So we can come back here, radio. And radio basically means when you want them to select, also like a checkbox too. So it's very similar to a checkbox. Instead of being like a check, it's more of a radio. And it's basically used when you want to select between two things. Because once you select one, you can't unselect it like a checkbox. So it's used mostly between two things, like yes or no. You can't not answer. So this is another type. We have another type also called file. And this is when you want the user to upload a file, like upload your CV, your resume, upload a profile picture. When you add this in, it gives you this. So you can see that with every different type of information we expect to receive, it changes the layout to expect that information. In this case, it doesn't want you to write, in this last one, it doesn't want you to write anything, it doesn't want you to write anything. It wants you to choose a file, like a picture, like a profile picture, like my profile picture. I can pick it there, add it there, and it's there. In case if you want to submit your picture or your resume or something. So there are so many, like I can't even get through all of them. We also have buttons. So button is in case if you want to submit something or create a button where they can click submit. As you can see, button. So there are so many different types. We also have submit too, which is also like a button too, but the button is more, I guess, more defined and it's very popular. So it's a button. We also have search. So we have search, and when we refresh it, it opens up a new box where it has this X there in case you want to collect. So again, these are all the ways in which we can utilize our form to collect different kinds of information from our users. Now, the last attribute we're going to discuss in this class today is going to be our class and ID. And class, so I'm going to come back here. This is going to be the seventh one. These attributes is used for styling, styling, which is in CSS. Also used for naming and grouping elements. So the main thing we use it there for to explain class in details, we use it when utilizing CSS. Remember, I said that in coding or in programming, everything has a name. All these, for example, are inputs. In order to differentiate them, you can give them names to allow us to differentiate them. So let's do something. Let's do H1. So let's do H1. I'm going to write this is a header. I'm going to go down and put another H1. This is a header. So, okay. I'm going to put one more H1 here. H1. This is a header 3. So now, these three H1s now, what differentiates them? Obviously, other than the content, nothing much. They are all seen as the same thing, which is a header. If I save it and refresh, it's just the content that changes. So if I come here and I want to add CSS, although I've not really gone into CSS now, but if I want to add CSS and I want to make H1, for example, and change the color to blue, what it does is that it's going to change them all to blue because it doesn't know which to specify. There's no way I can select each one individually. This is a class, and I can call it first header. And now, if I come down here, take this off, use the class, dot first header, and make the color instead of red, let's use blue as we were using before. I can come back here and can see only one change. So that's basically what it does. You can use a class to select and name an attribute which you use. So we're going to stop here for today. We're going to introduce the basic structure of an HTML website in our next class. I'm going to discuss also about HTML elements. So we're going to have more discussions on that. Now, I can't teach you all the attributes I know, obviously. It's going to be 2 hours to 3 hours long, not 5 hours on video. I can't do that. But the more you learn, the more we progress in our future videos. We're going to be seeing lots more attributes. We're going to be explaining as I do them. So that's it for this class. I'll catch you guys in the next one.